we were discussing the amendments which were applicable for November 2020 examination. So now we'll be discussing about the amendments in relation to refunds under GST law. So Rule 92 dealing with the refund, order of refund, the same has been amended. Now sub-rule 1A has been inserted. Now what sub-rule 1A provides is, here earlier what was happening was, a person may be paying the tax. GST may be paid through what? Electronic credit ledger. Duty would have been paid, your tax would have been paid through electronic credit ledger. And refund application was made, and the amount of refund was credited where? In the electronic cash ledger. So indirectly they were claiming the refund of the input tax credit in a electronic cash ledger. Now a restriction has been placed, that is what? The refund will be granted on the basis of what? The original mode of payment. Refund is to be granted as per the original mode of payment. Say if 50,000 rupees GST refund is there, and this 50,000 rupees has been paid through electronic credit ledger by debiting electronic credit ledger, say 15,000 rupees, and 35,000 rupees has been paid through e-cash ledger. Now when the same will be refunded, this 35,000 rupees will be credited where? In the electronic cash ledger, and 15,000 rupees will be what? Credited in the electronic credit ledger. So depending upon the original mode of payment, the refund will be granted to the concerned person, and the amendment has been introduced by notification number 16/2020 dated 23/3/2020. So what it has been provided is, where upon the examination of application of refund of any amount of tax which has been paid other than the refund of tax paid on zero rated supplies, that will be granted in e-cash ledger, or say deemed exports. Here the proper officer is satisfied that a refund under 54(5) of the Act is due and payable to the applicant, then he will make an order sanctioning the amount of refund, and the refund will be made on proportionate basis. Proportionate basis. The amount which was debited in the cash against the total amount paid for discharging the tax liability for the relevant period. Therein mentioning therein the amount adjusted against the outstanding demand under the Act, under the existing law, and the balance amount will be refunded in the cash ledger, and to the extent of the amount which has been paid through, say, electronic credit ledger, the same will be credited where? In the electronic credit ledger. So fundamentally what they are saying is, depending upon the original mode of payment of tax, you will be allowed refund of the tax. So he shall make an order in form RFD 06 sanctioning the amount of refund to be paid. That amount of refund is what? 50,000 is to be paid in cash, proportionate to the amount debited in the cash against the total amount paid for discharging the tax liability for the relevant period. Whatever amount has been paid through e-cash ledger relating to the relevant tax period for which refund has been claimed will be credited where? In the electronic cash ledger, after adjusting any tax demands relating to GST or the earlier laws. And the balance amount refundable and will be what? Refunded, and the remaining amount which has been debited from the electronic credit ledger for making payment of such tax, the proper officer shall issue form GST PMT 03 recrediting the said amount as the ITC in the electronic credit ledger. So consequentially, in Rule 86 also, they have provided that if any amount is refunded, the same will be what? Credited in where? In the electronic credit ledger. If tax has been paid through credit ledger, then the amount will be credited where? In the electronic credit ledger. Tax has been paid through cash ledger, then the amount will be credited in the cash ledger. Refund amount will be credited in the cash ledger. So fundamentally, refund is to be granted in cash and credit based on original mode of payment. This has been provided in Rule 92(1)(a). So is this clear? Earlier what was happening was amount was paid through what? Electronic credit ledger, and refund was claimed where? In the e-cash ledger. The amount was credited in the e-cash ledger on account of refund. Now it has been provided except for what? Supplies, zero-rated supplies, and in case of deemed exports where we are granted refund in cash. In other cases, if any tax demand has been paid by utilizing the ITC, then the amount of refund will not be credited in the cash ledger, but will be credited where? In the electronic credit ledger. So this amendment has been made in Rule 92(1)(a). The next is Rule 96(10). An explanation has been inserted in Rule 96(10). Rule 96 is dealing with what? Refund of integrated tax paid on goods or services exported on payment of So earlier in Rule 96(10), basically restrictions are placed in case of such refund. And Rule 96(10)(b), they were placing restrictions on a refund claim by a person who is seeking, say, refund of the IGST paid on export of goods or services. And the restriction was that in case a person who has availed the benefit of exemption from the IGST and GST compensation cess on goods imported by a 100% EOU, or say goods imported under advance authorization scheme, or say EPCG schemes. So restriction was placed on refund of IGST in case goods have been exported, have been imported by a person availing benefit of exemption from GST under EOU, AA and EPCG schemes. Now they have clarified the thing that if you have paid GST in cash, if you have paid at the time of import, IGST and GST compensation cess has been paid on the goods which have been imported, then in that particular circumstance, this restriction will not be applicable. Only if we have claimed the benefit of exemption from IGST and GST compensation cess at the time of import, then only this restriction will be applicable. If we have imported the goods under these notifications and has claimed exemption from basic custom duty, but have not claimed the exemption from GST, compensation cess and IGST, then this restriction which was placed earlier will not be applicable. The expression has been inserted which is clarifying the scope of this restriction. So an explanation has been inserted to this clause which clarifies that the benefit of the notifications mentioned therein shall not be considered to have been availed. These notifications benefit will not have been considered to have been availed only where the registered person has paid the IGST and GST compensation cess on the inputs. He has paid kya? IGST and GST compensation cess on inputs and has availed exemption only of the basic custom duty. So thus, if exemption is availed, only of basic custom duty, but IGST and GST compensation cess has been paid on import of inputs, then refund of the integrated tax at the time of export shall be admissible. So this has been clarified that it will be regarded that you have not availed the benefit of these notifications, so that this restriction will not be applicable and you will be entitled to claim the refund of the IGST which has been paid on the goods and services. So this notification, this explanation has been inserted, wide notification number 16/2020, dated 23/3/2020. Then Rule 96B has been what? Inserted, which provides for what? Recovery of the refund of unutilized input tax credit of the integrated tax paid on export of goods in case the export proceeds have not been realized. This has also been introduced with effect from 23/3/2020. So though in this in statutory provisions as such no restriction have been provided, but now they have provided here by way of rules where say any refund of unutilized ITC has been claimed. We have claimed the refund of unutilized ITC on account of the export of goods, or say we have claimed the refund of integrated tax on export of goods which have been exported on payment of the integrated tax. We have claimed the refund of the same. Then if the sale proceeds are not realized within the time limit under FEMA in convertible foreign exchange or such extended time as the RBI allows, then the person who has been given the amount of such refund will be required to repay that amount within what? The period of, say, to the extent of the non-realization of the proceeds within the period of 30 days after the expiry of the said period or such extended time as the RBI so allows. And in case if he do not repay the amount of the refund which has been granted to him, then they will recover the same in accordance with the provisions of section 73 and 74, that is by issuance of show cause notice, and the relevant provisions relating to recovery will be made applicable. That amount will be recovered along with the interest as provided in section 50. So fundamentally 96B provides for what? Recovery of the refund of unutilized ITC or integrated tax which has been paid on goods which were exported out of India, and here the proceeds have not been, say, realized. So what they say is, where any refund of the unutilized ITC, the refund of unutilized ITC, on account of export of goods or of the integrated tax paid on export of goods, and that refund has been paid to the applicant, but the sale proceeds in respect of such export goods they have not been realized in full or in part within the period allowed under FEMA. The sale proceeds have not been realized within the time limit under FEMA, including extended period. Then the person to whom refund has been made will deposit the amount so refunded within a period of 30 days after the expiry of the said period or extended period along with the applicable interest. And in case if we do not deposit the amount of refund to the treasury of the government, then the amount which has been refunded to him, the same shall be recovered in accordance with the provisions of section 73 and 74. That is, they will be issuing a show cause notice for recovering the amount of the refund which has been so granted to him along with the interest under section 50. And in case where the sale proceeds or part of sale proceeds in respect of such goods have not been realized by the applicant within the time allowed under FEMA, but where the RBI writes off the requirement, we say he waives off the requirement of the realization of the sale proceeds on merits. So RBI has waived off the requirement of realization of sale proceeds on merits. Then in that particular circumstance, that refund which has been paid to the applicant shall not be refunded. The refund which has been paid to the applicant, the same shall not be refunded in that particular circumstance. Then subsequently, if any amount has been realized, then in that particular circumstance, the applicant basically produces evidence about the realization of the proceeds within a period of 3 months from the date of realization of the proceeds. In that particular circumstance, the refund amount will be refund amounts so recovered from the applicant will be paid back to him in case the proceeds have been realized within such extended period as the RBI so allows. So on realization of the sale proceeds, the recovered amount to be repaid to the exporter. That has been provided in 96B2. So where the sale proceeds, they are realized by the applicant. The sale proceeds are realized by the applicant in full or in part after the amount of refund has been recovered from him, and the applicant produces evidence about such realization within a period of 3 months from the date of realization of the sale proceeds. In what will happen? The amount so recovered will be refunded by the proper officer to the applicant to the extent of the realization of the sale proceeds, provided what proviso has been, what they have saying, that is the sale proceeds, they must have been realized within such extended period as may be permitted by the RBI. So subsequently, if you realize the proceeds within the permitted period of RBI, you produce evidence within a period of 3 months of the realization of the sale proceeds. To the extent of the realization of the proceeds, the amount of refunds so recovered from you will be what? Repaid to the concerned exporter. So that has been Rule 96B. The same has been inserted. So fundamentally now, if you have claimed the ITC in respect of export of goods, or if you have exported the goods on payment of integrated tax and claim refund of the same, and in that particular circumstance, if the amount is not realized by us, sale proceeds are not realized by within the time limit under the FEMA or extended time so allowed, then whatever amount of refund has been granted to you, the same must be repaid by you. And in case if you do not repay the same, then whenever the time limit so expires, within a period of 30 days thereof, if you do not repay the same along with the interest, then they will recover the amount by issuing show cause notice along with the interest. However, if RBI has waived of the requirement of the realization of the sale proceeds, in that particular circumstance, the amount of refund so granted to you will not be recovered from you. Besides this, if subsequently within the extended time of the RBI, if you say realize these sale proceeds, give evidence about the realization to the proper officer within a period of 3 months from the date of realization of proceeds, within the time limit you have realized the same, then whatever amount of refund which has been recovered from you, proportionate to whatever amount has been realized, you will be what? Entitled for the refund of the said amount. That has been inserted by virtue of Rule 96B with effect from 23rd of March 2020. Now one master circular has been issued in relation to refund, and most of the clarifications which have been given in that particular circular we have already discussed in our normal class. Further, some more clarifications are there which we'll be discussing. In this master circular, they have given how much amount of refund will be granted to you in case if the refund is on account of, say, unutilized ITC, on account of exports without payment of tax, just say in case supplies have been made to SEZ unit or SEZ developer without payment of tax, or there is accumulated ITC on account of inverted duty structure. So fundamentally what they are saying is, whenever you are making a refund application, so they will be, common portal will be calculating the amount of the refund on the basis of the least of the following. Number one is what? The amount of refund which has been worked out by our formula. We have worked the formula in the case of, say, zero rated supplies and on account of inverted duty structure or in respect of export of goods. So we have worked out by that formula. So that on the basis of formula, how much amount of refund is admissible. Then whatever is the balance in the electronic credit ledger, whatever balance is there in the electronic credit ledger at the time, at the end of the tax period, basically for which the refund claim has been made after we have furnished the GSTR 3B of the relevant tax period. What is the balance in the electronic cash credit ledger at that particular point of time? One point is that as per the formula, other one is about the balance, and the third one is what? The balance in the electronic credit ledger of the applicant at the time of making the refund application. So least of the three refund will be granted, and in that particular circumstance the refund will be granted in this order. That is, in case, that is integrated tax will be refunded to the extent of the balance so available. And this amount basically in electronic cash credit ledger, whenever the refund will be granted, so here the integrated tax, to the extent of the integrated tax available in the electronic credit ledger, amount will be debited there. Then the balance amount will be what? Debited proportionately. Central tax and state tax, the same will be debited proportionately to the extent which is available. And in case of shortfall in balance of a particular electronic credit ledger, then the differential amount will be debited to the other electronic credit ledger. So this way the refund will be calculated, and the common portal will calculate the amount of refund, and the debits will be made in your electronic credit ledger. So what they have clarified is, in case of refund of the unutilized ITC, in case of refund of unutilized ITC on account of, say, exports without payment of tax, we are claiming the refund on account of ITC, unutilized ITC on exports without payment of tax, or say supplies have been made to SEZ units or say SEZ developers without payment of tax. On that account, there is a refund of unutilized ITC, or the refund is on account of inverted duty structure. Then the common portal will calculate the amount which is refundable to the extent of the least of the following amount. Number one is, that is the maximum refund admissible, that has been worked out as per the formula under 89.4 and 5. That is the maximum refund amount as per the formula under 89.4 or 89.5 of the CGST rules 2017. That formula is applied on the consolidated amount of ITC. That is, here the formula is applied on consolidated amount of ITC, that is CGST, SGST plus IGST. On that, we will be applying the formula and working out the amount of refund of the unutilized ITC. Then the second amount is what? The balance in the electronic credit ledger of the applicant at the end of the tax period for which refund claim is being filed after the return in form GSTR 3B for the said period has been filed. So whatever is the balance in the e-cash ledger, electronic e-credit ledger at the time when we are what? Making the, and the time of the tax period for which we are making the refund application. And the third one is what? Whatever is the balance in the electronic credit ledger at the time of the refund application. So if this is 85,000 rupees here as per this formula, and here it has been worked out 60,000 rupees, and here it is say 50,000 rupees. So here 50,000 rupees will be refunded. Now after calculating the least of the above three amounts, then and the amount equivalent will be debited where? Whenever the refund amount will be granted, same will be debited in electronic credit ledger. Say if we have IGST balance amounting to 18,000 rupees, CGST balance amounting to say 30,000 rupees, and SGST amounting to say rupees 2,000 rupees. In that case, they are saying that we will be debiting to the extent of the IGST available, that amount will be debited in the integrated tax account. Then they say that the central tax and state tax and union territory tax equally to the extent available. Then they are saying out of this 18, whatever remaining amount is there, that is what? 32,000 rupees. They are saying that it will be debited equally. But here we do not have that equal balance. Then in event of shortfall of balance in a particular electronic credit ledger, say central tax, the differential amount will be debited to the other electronic credit ledger, state tax or union territory tax. So here 30,000 will be debited where? In the CGST account, and 2,000 rupees will be debited where? In the SGST account. Likewise, they will be calculating the amount of the refund, and they are now, common portal will be first adjusting towards our integrated tax. Whatever balance is available there, that will be debited, and then CGST and SGST proportionately will be debited, that is equally the same will be debited. But in case there is shortfall in one of the accounts, then the shortfall will be met from the other accounts. So fundamentally, this is the master circular which is determining one of the points is what? Determination of refundable amount in case of what? The input tax credit which has remained unutilized on account of exports without payment of tax, or say supplies made to SEZ or SEZ units or SEZ developers without payment of tax, or refund is on account of say accumulated ITC on account of inverted duty, inverted tax structure. Then earlier it was clarified that the refund could not say spread over the financial years, but here now they have said that bunching of refund claims across the financial years is say will now be permitted. So it has been clarified that while filing the refund claim, the applicant may at his option file a refund claim for a tax period or by clubbing successive tax periods. Earlier what was happening was restriction on bunching of refund claim across the financial years was not permissible at that point. Restriction was placed there. Now they have relaxed that restriction. So here, say, earlier January to March and April to, that was not permissible. Separate refund application would have been required. But now the same is permissible. For instance, a registered person is filing, opting to file GSTR1 on quarterly basis, can apply for refund on quarterly basis or clubbing successive quarters. And these quarters, they may spread across different financial years. Earlier it was not there. Now these, they can spread across the financial year. Thus, he can file refund claim for the quarters, January to March, April to June, July to September, while filing what? The refund claim. So here the refund claim can spread across the different financial years also. Besides this, they have say issued one more circular, that is circular has been issued in this regard, that refund of accumulated ITC on account of reduction in GST rates, when the input and output tax rates are being same, though attracting different rates of tax for different points of time, they do not fall under the ambit of say inverted tax structure, and refund claim is say not admissible. Now what has happened is a dealer has purchased inputs. So he has purchased the goods in say month of July. At a time, the rate of GST on the said goods were 18%. Rate of GST on the said goods were 18%. Now the rate has been reduced. Say rate has been reduced. These were goods X. Now rate has been reduced on goods X to say 5%. Now he is selling those goods X. Now he is selling those goods X. And because now rate has been reduced, therefore 5% he will be charging 5% GST on outward supply. Now he says that there is an accumulated ITC and claims refund on account of inverted tax structure. Inverted tax structure. He is claiming the refund on account of the inverted tax structure. Now this is not possible here because inverted duty structure or inverted tax structure is applicable when they are input and output. Two different input is say X and output is Y. In input rate is say 18%, output rate is say 5%. Then only inverted duty structure or inverted tax structure refund will be admissible. But if the input and output remains same, input is X, output is also X, then that will not fall under the ambit of what? The inverted tax structure or inverted duty structure, and refund in such case will not be admissible. So what they are saying is it has been brought to the notice of the board that some of the applicants, they are seeking refund of unutilized ITC on account of inverted duty structure, where the inversion is due to change in GST rate on the same goods. Here, there is an inversion because of there is a change in GST. Earlier, goods X were chargeable with 18% GST, and now they have been chargeable with 5% GST. So they have clarified that in such case, a refund will not be admissible on account. You cannot claim it as an inverted duty structure. This can be explained through an illustration. An applicant is trading in goods has purchased, say, goods X, attracting 18% GST. However, subsequently, the rate of GST on X has been reduced to, say, 12%. It has been claimed that accumulation of ITC in such cases covered under on account of inverted duty structure, and these applicants have claimed are claiming the refund on that account. Now it has been noted, it may be noted that the refund, they have clarified that it may be noted that refund of accumulated ITC in terms of section 54(3)(2) of the CGST Act is available when the credit has been accumulated on account of rate of tax on inputs being higher than the rate of tax on, say, output, where input and output are different. It is noteworthy that the input and output in being same in such cases. In these cases, where input and output being same in such cases, though attracting different rates of tax at different points of time, they do not get covered under the provisions of section 54(3)(2) of the CGST Act, and thereby clarified that refund of accumulated ITC under 54(3)(2) of the CGST Act would not be applicable where the input and output supplies are same. When the input and output supplies are same, in such a case, that refund will not be admissible. Besides this, a clarification has been issued that here, if you are claiming refund on account of accumulated ITC, if you are claiming refund on account of accumulated ITC, the same shall be restricted to the invoices whose details have been uploaded by the supplier, whose details have been uploaded by the supplier in GSTR1 and has been reflected in GSTR2A of the applicant. So here, in wake of the insertion of Rule 36(4) of the CGST rules, it has been decided that refund of accumulated ITC shall be restricted to those invoices, the details of which have been uploaded by the supplier in form GSTR1 and are reflected in form GSTR2A of the applicant. So this amendment, these circulars have been made, and these amendments have been made, which are very important from refund point of view, and amendment has also been made in respect of claiming refund on account of, say, the export of goods and services, that is refund of the input tax credit on account of the export of goods and services. Formula has been changed, so which we'll be discussing in our next lecture.